Hello, friends and beautiful people. It's Kathryn. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. This is Embody Your Vision, day 3 of 3. The doing without doing. So I'm going to make sure that I'm live in the right place. There I am, and I'm going to share this to my group. There we go. And a little preface before I start this video. So those of you who were waiting for me to go live, here's what. So this year I've fully embraced the fact that I am an embodied conscious channel. And working with that knowledge means that when the information comes through, we are on 0 time, spiritual time. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, and it sounds maybe arrogant too. But I've had to really honor this. I tried to push through it at first, of setting a time to go live and then feeling like, but the information, the channel isn't open yet. The conduit isn't clear and pure yet. And knowing what it feels like to try to push and be on time to bring information forward versus saying, I'm going to go live when it's ready, when I'm ready, when the information is ready, when the wisdom is ready. It's much more liberating to be in that level of realization where I'm going to go live when I'm ready and when the information is pure. So how this is going to work out when I have scheduled times for teaching programs and classes, I'm not quite sure. But when I do Facebook Lives, and there's going to be a lot more on this channel, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's just say that. But, you know, either I can push through or I can honor it. And I've decided to fully honor it instead of pushing through, because I'm about ease and flow. I am about being in the space of support and nourishment. And when I'm pushing myself or forcing things to happen, I'm not supporting myself or nourishing myself. So there it is. And the best way to support and nourish my community is being true to myself. So there's that. The other thing is that this is day 3 of a 3-day workshop that I was hosting in my Visionaries and Luminaries group. And the first 2 days were gold. Today is going to be gold. Hi, Barbara. And because for some unnamed, unknowable reason, I can no longer download videos in my own groups. It's just a weird faceplace thing. Hopefully it'll get sorted. Sometimes these glitches just get sorted out on their own. But I can't download these videos. So I would be sharing this on YouTube. I would be sharing this on my personal page and to my email list and whatever, but I cannot download these first 2 days of videos from this Embody Your Vision workshop so that you can watch them. So what I've decided to do is, if you love today's talk and if you want access to the first 2 days of Embody Your Vision workshop, I will open it up to you in my Visionaries, Luminaries, and Divine Disruptors group, which is a paid group, but I will give you access through the weekend, through Monday, to watch the first 2 videos. So if you want to do that, all you have to do is reach out to me. You can put something in the comments here, or you can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, and I will get you in the group, and you can watch those first 2 days of replays, and you'll have access through Monday. So what I was sharing in the first 2 days has been about the platinum standard, is what we talked about yesterday. And so I'm not going to go over this again. If you want access to those videos, I'm happy to share them with you. But this is all about setting a new standard to be in integrity with the New Earth paradigm, and to work with a much more open and supportive paradigm where we are asked, we are invited to honor our gifts, to honor that whatever talents, abilities, gifts, skill sets that we have, these are divine gifts. These are bestowed upon us through Source, and we're meant to be an expression of Source here in this lifetime. So any gifts and talents and abilities that we have, not only to support ourselves, but also support people in our communities, support the people who sign up for our programs and courses. It's a gift, and it all contributes to the greater vision that you hold. And if you feel like you have a very big vision, it's not just your own. It's meant to be shared. So we talked about the Platinum Standard, and then we also talked about, in day one, going into the energies of 2023 and what that feels like. The bigness of this container that is 2023. And sometimes we go into a new year with a lot of anticipation for, especially coming off of the last 2.5, 3 years. We have anticipation of, ooh, what's going to go awry this year? Where am I going to be challenged or, be put to the wall this year? Where are my beliefs and my whole way of being going to be challenged this year? Would love access to the first 2 days. Okay, Barbara, I will give you access throughout the weekend, and you can have those 2 days of workshops. And I'll tag you in the videos when I invite you in the group, so you don't have to go searching for them. So in day one, we really talked about the anticipation of this container of 2023 as being, yes, it's almost a guarantee at this point that we are going to see more changes. We're going to have more shakeups on this planet, because in order to crumble an old paradigm, we have to collapse and dissolve the systems and the structures and the ways of being, the ways of thinking, the ways of feeling that support that. And so that goes right alongside with, us coming to a place of, at its most extreme, a crisis of the soul, a crisis of the mind, where we are challenged to ultimately give up the things that we did think about the nature of reality, the things that we had held so close to us as beliefs about how reality really works. These things are crumbling by the day. And you can either get in the place of nervous system burnout and see, a massive crisis of the soul as like your ultimate undoing. And you can see the world as an unsafe place. You can see yourself as unsafe in it. Or you can see this as, this is the necessary part of this process. This undoing, this unbecoming, this unknowing. It goes right alongside of building something new. And ultimately, we go into this crisis because we think we're losing something. We're losing our safety, or were we ever really safe? Are we losing our security? Were we ever really that secure? We're losing the things that built up society as we know it, built up the world as we know it. Was that really that wholesome to begin with? Or was it, system structures and a paradigm as a whole that supported the benefit of the few rather than the many? And I, of course, you can probably guess which camp I am in. I'm in the camp of, I see what is being built up, and hopefully in every day and all the work that I do, contributing to the evolution of a new paradigm that benefits the greatness of the many instead of the few. So I don't really see us as losing anything. And even though it is a personal war that we can wage within, because we question everything about our own identity. We question everything about, well, then if these beliefs go away, what does that say about me? What does that say about the kind of person I've built myself up to be? If the structures and systems now that upheld a certain level of identity for me are now crumbling around me, what does that say about me? Who am I? Well, if all of those foundations were that flimsy to begin with, do you think that that was the sum total of you? Do you think that that was contributing to the wholeness, the longevity, the staying power of you? Or were these things meant to crumble? Were they meant to fall away? Were these illusions meant to dissipate so that you could actually see who you really are? underneath it all. And again, you can guess which camp I'm in on that. That this crumbling, the dissolving, the dissipating, it's all part of the process. It's all part of the evolution of humanity. It's all part of us moving into a greater frequency of awareness. And it's painful to the degree that we still want to hold on or cling to these old structures, this old identity, this old personality. That's when it becomes painful. That's when there is suffering, when there is that level of attachment to something that, if we're quite honest, was a version of self that got us here. So great, applause to her because she got us here. You're still here, you're living, you're breathing. And I'm not trying to diminish or downplay any trials or tribulations that you've had in your lifetime or your trauma or your wounding, but you're here, you're still drawing breath. So that version of you got you here. But is that version of you sufficient to evolve you into the staying power of what frequency you're going to need to inhabit in New Earth? And as we move forward in 2023, there are going to be more and more reminders of this. There's going to be more and more opportunities to let go. There's going to be more and more opportunities to mine those gifts in the garbage, I call them. And they are treasures. They're treasures that we find in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the crumbling, in the midst of the collapsing of old timelines and ways of being and structures and paradigms that were not wholesome to you and were not wholesome to humanity at large. There are gifts in there, deep, deep treasures buried so deep that when we find these gifts, we're like, there you are. There you are. I've been waiting for you. I knew you were there. I knew you were there. I just didn't know where exactly. I didn't know how to get at you. And so these gifts in the garbage oftentimes come from, the crumbling and the dissipating and the falling away of everything we thought we knew as reality, or we thought we knew as, well, this is who I am. No, that was who you were. You built up from your own amazing creativity a version of you that could get you through painful situations, could get you through trials in your life, could get you through strenuous situations where you felt like you were put to the test, where you had to deeply pull from a reserve of deep strength and resilience. That version of you is incredible. But that is a version of you that got you to a place where you could survive. But that's no longer where we are. Just as you created that version of you to get you through, you have the same capability to create a version of you, or I would say uncover, because she's in there, she's already there, she's already complete, she's already whole, underneath all the veils and overlays of all the ego perceptions, the ego misperceptions, the ego wounding, the trauma. That version of you that exists in purity, like beautiful diamond ore, a diamond in the rough, at the core or the foundation of all those layers and overlays, she was always waiting to come up to the surface to breathe the clean air. And she exists in a place of purity. And she holds a greater vision. She holds energy that is here to nourish the foundation of New Earth. Because right now we're creating a baseline for it. We're creating a baseline and a foundation for New Earth. We are laying the bedrock. And those of us who hold a big vision for loving each other and supporting each other in new ways, for loving and supporting ourselves and nourishing ourselves in new and much more expanded ways, we're the ones that are going to be laying that bedrock, rock by rock, piece by piece. And there's a frequency that we're being invited to occupy in order to do that. Chaos is a powerful ally, Nicole says. Yes, it can be. If we're in the perspective to be able to see it that way, right? because we may not always be in that place of being able to have that vantage point, especially if we feel really undone by the very energies that we came here to transmute. And that was me. That was me at the end of 2021. That was me through end of April, pretty much, of 2022. I've talked about this many times, and I'll talk about it a million more times. So if you are tired of hearing me talk about it, I'm sorry. But this is really important, because going through this period of chaos and going through a massive undoing myself and an unknowing and unbecoming allowed me to deepen into my gifts that I found in that garbage of the chaos and the confusion and the overwhelm. It allowed me to, create the capacity to receive, hold on one second, my vision. It allowed me to create the capacity to receive me being fully and completely an embodied conscious channel. Fully embracing that without resistance, without feeling there are obstacles in the way. Coming out on the other side of this spiritual rock bottom, because it wasn't just a dark night of the soul. Nope, that is not a sufficient word to describe what happened. It was a spiritual rock bottom. I was ready to just chuck it all, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna flip burgers at McDonald's, because I just can't. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And it was that kind of resignation. And even though I was showing up in my communities and doing my work and teaching my classes and continuing to create content and all those things, my heart wasn't in it. It was being more perfunctory about it than anything else. And because I had made certain commitments, and I'm very, very committed to showing up for my community if I said I was going to do that. And I'm also a Capricorn, so I don't wear my heart on my sleeve too often. And so many people in my community didn't know until I decided to start talking about it. And I have it's my personal code of ethics that I don't talk about things like that as I'm going through something very dark and very painful and where I feel like I'm suffering or struggling, so you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know until I started talking about it. And my code of ethics is like, you know what, until I come out on the other side of this, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to be that one that posts on Facebook about, and I'm not trying to diminish anyone's struggle. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about me, okay? To post on Facebook, oh my God, woe is me. Everything is falling apart. Everything is shit. I'm not someone who likes to commiserate. And certainly as a coach, I think that is a discredit as someone who's a mentor and a coach for other people. So I would still go about my work, and it was perfunctory, but it was like showing up in kind of a shell of myself. And I could still do my work, and I could still support my clients. But as soon as I clicked off the Zoom call, or I clicked off an appointment with a private client, I would go back to my suffering, and I would go back to my ailment. It was this ailment of the soul. That's how it felt. It was an ailment of my human feeling like she couldn't reconnect with the soul. That's a better way to say it. My connection apparently cannot handle both of our energies today. Thank you, Nicole. So I realized something. That it was really about the frequency. And it's always about the frequency that I was holding. And that I had to kind of pull back from everything until I got that sorted. And I realized something really powerful in that space of the doing without doing. And there wasn't things that I was doing to myself. I was still, as someone outside looking in at my life, they would see, well, there's Kathryn doing her stuff, teaching her classes, creating content, you know, showing up, doing Facebook Lives, doing workshops, doing one-off masterclasses, all that stuff. So as someone outside looking in, I would look no different, okay? But inside, I was completely falling apart and I was a hot, chaotic mess. And even though I was showing up and creating a high frequency space for those in my community, I was feeling none of it myself. Zero. Big fat donut hole, nothing. And I wasn't allowing myself to open up to it because I felt like I have to suffer through this. I have to get this. I'm gonna wear the crown and the mantle of someone who is suffering and struggling right now because that's who I am. And every thought would go to more struggle. Every thought would go to more suffering. Every feeling would go to more pain and disconnection. And so there I was in this frequency bandwidth. And so that everything that showed up as a projection in my outer reality, of course, and always mimicking my inner reality, because that's frequency 101, folks. It looked like everything was just falling to shit in my life. And that's the way it looked to me, because I was in that frequency to be able to see it from that vantage point. Does that make sense? Even though other people might look at my life and like, oh, look, she's doing all the things. It's great. There's good old Kathryn over there just plugging away. But I looked out at my life and all I saw was disappointment. All I saw was disappointment. All I saw was things not matching up. That in my mind, I felt like I was putting energy towards something that it just wouldn't catch. It was like throwing a fishing line in the water and just being out there for hours fishing for anything, a minnow, and nothing, no bites, nothing. And then getting angry about it, getting resentful, feeling blame. God damn these people. Don't they see how hard I'm working? Ah! More suffering, more struggle, more pushing, more forcing, more placing the energy outside of myself, which is something I've coached and mentored about for years, is that we have to mine our own inner resources. Your sense of safety, your sense of security, your sense of being supported is something inwardly sourced. The old paradigm, we think it's something that's outwardly sourced. It never is. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It never is. If you can't inwardly source a feeling of safety, security, valuing yourself, trusting yourself, believing in yourself, knowing you're more than capable, knowing that you are gifted, knowing that you are talented, how the frig do you expect anyone outside of you or anything outwardly sourced to match what's inside? Frequency 101. It's not going to happen. And it's like, I forgot all this stuff. All these things that I've been teaching for years, I forgot it all. It was not available to me. I was not in a frequency or a spectrum of awareness to be able to reach that stuff. It was just out of my hand's grasp. Couldn't get to it. I couldn't deepen into that level of truth that like everything that looks like I'm doing in the outside world is something I was doing to myself within. And yes, some of us who have been doing this work for a long, long time can forget who we are, and it can be a very painful and a very dismantling experience. It was like a spiritual deconstruction. Great question, Crystal, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm getting to it. Crystal's over there. How do we do it? It's the doing without doing. So, if I was doing this to myself, then what would be what it would look like that I was doing in the outside world from my vantage point and perspective. If I was disappointing to myself, then everything I was doing in the outside world, or creating or making or sharing, that was going to be disappointing as well. Because those frequencies have to match. So that's the doing without doing, is understanding. And we pay so much lip service to this, and we all do this to a certain degree. We'll show up on Faceplace and put out a highlight reel of all the moments that are working out in life. And it's easy to put on a smile and a face of contentment when we're showing a highlight reel of our lives and we're saying, hey, Faceplace, look at me, I got it together. Got it together. My life is awesome, right? Look at me. Look at me, killing it at life. But the doing without doing that I'm talking about is that you might show up to the world in one way, but how you're talking yourself into reality, moment to moment, thought to thought, and feeling to feeling, is the frequency you're really holding. And you might have these aspirations and these wants and these desires and these ambitions that feel big, they feel grandiose, and you might be paying lip service to that, like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, this is what 2023 is going to look like, I'm going to be doing all the great stuff, I'm already doing this, and this is already happening, these people are already signing up with me, and all these things, right? And you might want that. But how about when your iPhone camera is turned off, and you're talking to yourself about who you are? When you're talking to yourself about what you can do? When you're talking to yourself about yourself in your own head, does that match everything you're saying on camera? Does that match everything you're saying in your Facebook post? Moment to moment, thought to thought, inner conversation to inner conversation, what are you saying to yourself? Because that's your frequency. It is whatever is showing you where the bulk of your attention, the bulk of your focus lies in your inner reality. Not what you're saying, not where you're showing up on Faceplace with the highlight reel of all the things that are going right in your life. The doing without doing that I'm talking about is that if you are a frequency match for the things that you want to create, the grandiose vision you want to step into, to hold for yourself and to hold for your community and how you support others. If you are having a conversation in your head that resonates in your body down to a cellular level that matches that, then everything that shows up in your reality will be done. It gets done because you're a frequency match for it. How do you get out of the channel of it coming? Hold on, let me read it here. How do you get out of the channel of it coming from need versus divine work moving through you? That's a great question. So let's talk about that in terms of need and desire, okay? When you are coming from a place of what you want to create, who you want to be in the world, realizing your ambitions and aspirations, until we suss out and release need, you're never going to know what you truly desire. So one of the things that we talk about in Lotus Throne Initiation, and this is a powerful pivot point for the women in there, but I want to give you a little taste of this. So Lotus Throne Initiation is something I'm going to be teaching in mid-November again, and it takes us through 2023 together. This is a powerful container of support. Sisterhood leadership is what this is all about, and also bringing your big vision to life. I don't care how big it is, we're going to do it. And that's what I led women through in the first version of this. And we talk about something in this initiation that's very powerful. A lot of what we want to create comes from a compensating logic. So listen closely, because this answers your question, Crystal, in maybe a deeper way than you'd like, but that's who I am. I will stretch you because that's what I'm here to do. compensating logic looks like, I want to create this desire to be wealthy because right now I'm poor and I can't pay my bills. And I don't have the money to fund a retreat, which is what I really want to do. Or I don't have the money to get my book published. So I want to be, a best-selling author. I want to have a soulmate partner because I feel like no one loves me. That is not desire. That's need. And it's created from a compensating logic. So you think it's a desire. I desire to be wealthy. I desire a soulmate partner. But what it's doing is satisfying something you've already accepted as truth. And it doesn't matter what the truth is. I'm incomplete. I'm unlovable. I'm invisible. I'm poor. You're creating this desire from something you've accepted as truth, which is not true at all, but you've accepted it as truth, that in some way, shape, or form you are incomplete. You are not whole. So you're creating from need. That's not a true desire. That is not a manifestation that exists in purity. Do you feel the difference? So if you want divine work to move through you, you've got to suss out, where does this desire that I have come from a place of need? And that need will always come from some level of ego wounding that says, I'm incomplete, I'm incapable, I can't trust myself, I'm poor, I'm unlovable, I'm invisible, I'm unworthy. Until those get cleaned up for you, your desires aren't pure. Your manifestations will not be pure. They don't have staying power, in other words, because it's built off of a lack matrix foundation. Now, if you understand that you are here to have divine work move through you, as I came to understand this year fully and completely and finally, that I can't have myself be an embodied conscious channel and having information and wisdom move through me freely until I clean up all these blocks and obstacles that are based on ego needs. I can't be a pure channel if I'm in a place of need. Now, if I'm in a place of pure desire, then I can finally know who I really am. And we won't know who we really are, and we can't create the purest manifestations and desires until we suss out and fleece ourselves of need. And yes, this is an uphill battle because some of us have a lot of needs that we need to unravel. But this is an important distinction and a really great question. I'm so glad you asked it, Crystal, because those of us who are really here to be spirit-led visionary women, we have to suss this out. Because we're here to deliver something in purity. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this call, and I don't think you were here for that, Crystal, those of us who are spirit-led visionary women, we're holding a bigger, grandiose vision, and from a place of purity, not just to support ourselves, but to support our communities, support the planet as a whole and the entire human family. We've got to get it clear when we are coming from a place of need versus desire. And we don't know what we really desire, what really makes us tick, who we really are, in other words, until we fleece ourselves of need. I hope this makes sense. So we have to get really clear. We got to release, we got to let go. And it doesn't have to be a process like I went through this year and the end of last year. It doesn't have to be this dark night of the soul. It doesn't have to be a spiritual rock bottom. It's just that I had pushed and forced and tried to bulldoze through it and not give it credit for the magnitude of the release that it was. Because the magnitude of this release allowed for me a capacity to receive that simply wasn't available to me before. But this can be a voluntary process. It's just that I had pushed and tried to bulldoze through because I was like, shit, I got shit to do. I'm busy. I got to be productive. I got to do all the stuff and all the things. I got no time for this. And so it bit me in the ass. Like a scorpion sting. It was pretty bad. You don't have to do that. And so, I'm giving you this information so you can realize, like, it's It's something that you can volunteer to do for yourself. And it will always be from a place of great self-love. Talk about self-care. The ultimate self-care for those of us who are spirit-led visionary women is to know what you need to release and to stop attaching to it. And as we do shadow work and we release some stuff, it's like we find these little gems and echoes of who we were in a previous timeline, and we're like, ooh, and it's almost like the reverse shiny object syndrome, because we mine these things when we're doing shadow work, and we go underneath the surface layer, we go into the subconscious, we bring pain and wounding up to the surface, then we can look at it in the light and say, ooh, but this is me. This wounded little girl who still needs this, who still needs that. This is me. It's not you. It's a previous version of you, but because it finally comes up to the light again, you're like, oh, I remember her. She needs all of these things and all this stuff, and this is who I am. It's not you. It's like reverse shiny object syndrome, where you're saying, this is why I can't do all the things or have all the stuff, because this is who I really am. Nope. Nope. You have a need to attach to that version of you. So what is that need? That's what you need to clear up. And when you do, you understand who you really are, and then you can desire things in your life from a place of purity. It's game-changing, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And then you also get to see when you release yourself and unburden yourself of that need, you get to see yourself in a light that you've never been able to before. You get to see yourself in a place of purity. You get to see that you are a divine extension of Source. You get to see that all these gifts and talents that you've downplayed for a lifetime, maybe even lifetimes plural, that they're here because they are divine gifts bestowed on you from Source. And no one can use these gifts like you can. No one can exhibit these talents and share with the world all the blessings that come from that like you can. And if you're still struggling with need, you just can't see it. Like I couldn't see it. It's like you're in a different frequency bandwidth. It's not available to you. You might have a knowledge that it's there somewhere, it's out there, and it's probably right in front of your face. But I'm telling you, if you're in this frequency bandwidth that is not a match for it, you're not going to see it. It's veiled to you. And so a lot of us, pay lip service, and I'm not excluding myself from this category, and I hope in my in my raw and candid talk here, you're getting a sense that like, I was in this shit too. I was in this place too. I got myself out of it. That's the whole reason Lotus Throne Initiation came about. Because this is all how I got myself out of this. And that's why it's such a profound container, and I'm so excited to do it again and take a very aligned group of women into 2023 with me, because this program is powerful. It allows you to unwind all of this shit, and it allows you to see yourself and create a life from a place of desire instead of need. Because a lot of stuff that we're creating, or we think we're creating, that's a pure manifestation, is done from an ego need based on lack, based on a compensating logic. Hold space for yourself as you detach and just show up uncomfortably. Here's the thing. A lot of us are showing up uncomfortably anyway. Think about it. You're showing up and doing your work. Before I was showing up and doing my work, even though I was uncomfortable. Like feeling like, who's going to judge me today, or who the troll's going to be on this live, or, I don't feel right in my body. I'm not giving myself the proper self-care. I'm not nourishing myself. I'm not supporting myself, but I'm going to show up because I have to, because I'm supposed to. And especially if we're coming from any kind of a people-pleasing kind of self-sabotage, we're uncomfortable because we feel like we're giving more than we allow ourselves to receive. I mean, women historically, it's our legacy to show up in the world uncomfortable. So you've been doing it anyway. But you're only uncomfortable In the context, we're talking about it here. And for those of you listening, again, Crystal asked, so hold space for ourselves as we detach and just show up uncomfortably. As you shed these layers, you're going to be uncomfortable because there is a part of you that grieves for who you used to be. You're going to feel it in your heart. You're going to feel it in your lungs. And this is a normal part of the process, to grieve for who we've been. Because as I mentioned earlier in this call, that version of you got you here. You're going to be sentimental about her. You're going to be. She was amazing. She fucking got you here. You're still drawing breath. You're here. You made it. Through whatever adversity, whatever challenge. Of course you're going to have feelings and sentiments for that version of you that got you here. That's normal. That's right. That's as it should be. But to the degree that you attach to this former identity and think or delude yourself that that version of you, who really just knows survival, is going to get you to a place where you're overflowing and all the money is coming and all the clients are coming and all the great courses and content and visionary, grandiose ideas are coming. If you're attached to her to want to get you to your next level, she's not in a frequency bandwidth that can do that for you, and that's okay. You can honor her, but you're going to be uncomfortable about that. Because growth is uncomfortable. It just is. It goes hand in hand. But you can be uncomfortable in such a way where you are attached to a version of you that, and you know, Crystal, and every other woman on this call, you know that what you're asking for exists in a different frequency than who you've been. So do yourself a favor. Stop attaching to a version of you that simply does not hold the frequency, is not in a spectrum or bandwidth of energy to take you to where you're asking to go. And it's okay. Because once you make this truth evident within you, it feels lighter. It feels better. And then you're just going to feel uncomfortable because it's like, okay, it's like an uncomfortable of like, we're going to do the thing, we're going to do the thing, we're going to do the thing. Oh my God, we're going to do the thing. And you're excited, but you're also like, what if it goes wrong? And there's going to be that kind of level of discomfort. Okay, that's also a given. And then there's going to be the discomfort of when you move to a different frequency bandwidth, some people in your life are going to fall away or not understand where you're going, or they're going to come from their own needs and look at what you're doing and they're going to resent you. And the only reason they do that is because they want what you're doing. They want your bravery. They want your courage. They want to be in your frequency bandwidth too, but from where they are, they just can't see how to do that. And so people are going to naturally fall away. There's that kind of uncomfortability. There's that kind of discomfort. There's also, things in your life that you've grown to be comfortable with. You've created a space or a sanctuary around yourself based on the frequency bandwidth that you're in right now. That's going to go away too. So that's going to be a level of discomfort. But there's gradients of discomfort that we experience with growth that show you and are evidence of, hey, I'm growing though. I'm becoming. I'm moving into this next frequency. And what's falling away in my life, remember, you're not losing anything, especially if you're true to your authentic self. What's falling away in my life is proof positive of that. It's evident of that. Let it fall, right? Right? So there's uncomfortability, and then there's discomfort. And there's the discomfort that comes with growth, and it goes hand in hand. And it's going to happen, that discomfort. Right now, I am in the process of collaborating with women. If you watched my live last night, I'm in the process of moving into my next level of frequency, which is more in-person talks, more one-on-one engagement with women in small containers of support and nourishment. And this woman who lives here with me in Bellingham, she doesn't live with me, but we live in Bellingham together, and we're collaborating and doing a retreat together. As I'm looking at like, it's going to cost this, And then I'm going to be in front of women talking about this. I'm used to talking online. Like, that's a level of discomfort. But I'm willing to be in that discomfort because I know at the other side of that is growth. And all I need to do with the discomfort is say, okay, if I'm moving into my next level of growth, then I have to just move into my next level of self-care. So as I expand into this woman who I'm destined to become, and in this frequency that is my frequency destiny, my next step of my frequency destiny, my next bandwidth or threshold I'm entering into, that just means the self-care has to step up. The support and nourishment that I give to myself needs to step up to alleviate more of the discomfort. So it's like a pact that we create for ourselves and to ourselves and for ourselves, right? So the doing without doing. If you are talking to yourself, how we talk to ourselves is how we create our reality. And there is a beautiful little baby deer pooping in my front yard right now. Right outside my window. She's leaving precious little deer pellets. That's gotta mean something, right? I love it. I'm in the discomfort. And it's okay to say that, right? Because anything we consciously have a connection with, we have the ability to work with. It's when we try to push through and say, this is not happening, la 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 la, it's not happening, I'm comfortable, damn it. You're not comfortable. Frequency mismatch. Honor where you are. Value it, because these are the energetic spaces that only lend themselves to growth. And when we consciously take note of, all right, I'm sad today, I'm uncomfortable today, I'm resenting something or someone today. Speak it out loud. Say it. Honor it. Know that it's your truth in the moment. It's when we try to push through that all this stuff comes to bite us in the ass. And as women, we are emotional beings. We create emotionally. Think about it. We create intuitively. We really do. And our brains are wired as women a little bit differently than men, so that our right brain and left brain function kind of hemispherically in a greater balance than men's brains do. It is that way. So as much as we're involved in the doing, we're involved in the feeling. And we understand, even if it's not a conscious understanding, we understand that we have an emotional destiny here. As humans, we're here to feel it all. And as women, we can allow ourselves, when we're consciously taking note of how we feel in the moment, then we allow ourselves to kind of be a sieve. We allow ourselves to be a filter. We let it wash through. And the more we do that, we get better at feeling into, well, this isn't really mine. This is stuff that's going through the collective. But hey, you're part of the collective. You got to let that wash through you too. Sometimes shit can come in a form of beauty or vice versa. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think of the shit that I was feeling this year as it is, like in Egypt, the scarab is a revered insect, right? And the scarab feeds off shit, but it's regarded as a spiritual, it's emblematic of spirituality, of our human and spiritual destiny. So a lot of good things come from shit. It's a weird thing to say out loud, but it's true. It's absolutely true. So the doing without doing. I want to concretize this point before we leave. And those of you who joined late in the call, this is day 3 of a 3-day workshop. And because for some reason I can't download videos in my own groups, normally I would download all of these and put them on YouTube, but I can't do that. So if you want to watch days 1 and day 2 of this workshop, which were gold, just like today is, just let me know, reply in the comments, and I'll give you access through the weekend in my Visionaries, Luminaries, and Divine Disruptors group, and you can watch the first 2 videos. But you only have access through the weekend, so you got to be committed and watch it. Okay, so the doing without doing. The best way to talk about it is to give an example, okay? So when we are in the frequency of what we are meant to do in the world, what we're asking to become, what that looks like in our inner reality, what that feels like in our inner reality are the conversations. Okay, Crystal, I will add you. And I'll tag you on the videos so you don't have to search for them. When we're in the frequency and we make a conscious connection of like, I am becoming, and we get very honest with our desires. We get very honest with what we were desiring from a pure place, not a place of need or compensating logic. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the beginning of this video and start from the beginning. Our inner reality has to match that. So that what we do in our outer reality gets done. Because we're in a frequency match for it. So that what that looks like, we're talking ourselves into our reality moment to moment. So how are you talking to yourself in your head? Not how you create posts on Faceplace, not how you show up in your YouTube videos, not what you're saying you hope takes hold in your reality or just paying lip service to. How are you talking to yourself in your head when the camera's turned off? When you're not, in a Facebook Live or a group workshop and saying, I'm going to do all the things. And that's great. I want you to do all the things. I want you to have all the things. I want you to be all the things. I want that for you just as much as you want it. I do. I do. But when it's quiet and you're in your own head and you're talking to yourself, what are you saying to yourself? How are you talking yourself into reality? By what you're saying in your conversations to yourself. What are you saying about yourself in your head? Does it match? Does it match? Because that is the doing without doing. And we say we understand this, and everyone here live, and I'm sure those of you who are going to watch the replay, we know about law of attraction. We think we know about manifesting. We think we know about frequency matches and energy, frequency and vibration, and we pay a lot of lip service to it, and we say, yeah, I know, but do you really? Do you really know? Are you doing it? It's one thing to say you are, but what are you doing? And I know doing, we think about it as a very masculine thing, and it is, especially when we're in the mental matter of our own minds. It is a very masculine space. Doing, the act of being productive, is very masculine. But I want you to understand that there is a match that takes hold between the masculine and the feminine. What you're doing, how you're talking to yourself and talking about yourself in your own head is going to match a being in your outer reality, which is very feminine. And what you're doing in talking to yourself in your own mind is creating the capacity to receive what you want to do. And let's use an example. So in this past year and everything that I've gone through, I realized that I only want to work with highly committed women. Highly committed. Like they have a vision, they know it's big, they don't care how big it is. They're like, it's huge. I don't know if I can do it, but I know it's for me. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to see it, know it, have awareness of it. I want this. I want this. I know it's there. I know it's for me. And it feels big. It doesn't look like anything anyone else is doing, but man, I'm committed. I want to figure this out. And we're trying to figure it out, which is kind of the mismatched energy for visionary work. But nonetheless, that's where we are. And I want to help women stop figuring it out and just start being it. So that's what Lotus Throne Initiation is for. And I only want to work with highly committed women. They're going to show up for themselves. They're going to give themselves that next level of support and nourishment and self-care. They're going to deepen into what their vision looks like. And they're going to do it in such a way where they're just slowing down and savoring this vision and only being with the next step. Because true creation in the New Earth paradigm is about slowing down and deepening into and consciously putting attention and focus and awareness on the vision and slowing everything else down. Deepening into being with what is right in front of you, your next step. That is new paradigm creation, period, the end. Anyone that tells you different, I'm sorry, they're incorrect. Okay? Gone are the days of trying to multitask and strategize and plan 20 steps out, your 5-year plan. Throw it away. Throw it away. Sounds bold, I know. You're going to have to trust me on that. Because all you really have the power to be with anyway, no matter how much you think you can strategize and plan 20 steps ahead, 5 years down the road, it never looks like that. And in the New Earth paradigm, it's a guarantee it's never going to look like that. And chances are you're going to get pulled in a whole new different direction next week anyway. So what do? You surrender and let go to the only thing that you have power to be with, which is the now moment. And what is next? What is right in front of you? And if you hold a vision so big, so grandiose, that is the only way to bring that into physical reality of form. And I want to work with women who are like, okay, yeah, I can get on board with that. And it's weird at first. It was weird at first for the women in Lotus Throne Initiation because it's like, shouldn't we have all the stuff? Shouldn't we be doing all the things? Shouldn't be there like 18 million workbooks? Nope. 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 It's old paradigm. All you need to do is be with the next step. And it takes a high level of commitment to trust that. To trust yourself. I'm not talking about just trusting me. I'm talking about trusting yourself inside of a container that is all about focus on what is right in front of you and focus on your vision. That's all. That's it. There's nothing else. And outside of the class, you go back to life and whatever. But your life is going to change because of what I'm asking you to deepen into in this place. So it takes a high level of commitment because it takes a high level of self-trust. And trust in just being with the next step, just being with what is right in front of you. And many of us on this planet are not used to that. We are used to uber productivity, doing all the things, multitasking, planning 20 steps out, planning 20 weeks ahead. Old paradigm. All it does is spin you out and burn out your nervous system. And it takes actually that much longer for you to get with your desires to match that frequency. And the paradox is when you slow down into this deep commitment, and I'm talking about high level of commitment to just what is right in front of you, that takes some attention, that takes some focus. Absolutely, you're collapsing time, but it looks different. It looks reversed because when you're slowing down, how it looks in the 3D world of form is that everything accelerates and speeds up around you. So you're slowing down and you're focusing and giving all of your attention and your focus and your awareness to this vision, to this space that is right in front of you. And you're holding this frequency because I'm asking you to be so close to your vision that you have no choice but to just hold this frequency, to be in the frequency of it. And it feels slow. It feels like a slowing down of time in this container. So it's like a time capsule. because it's such a slowing down. But meanwhile, everything in your 3D reality is accelerating around you. Everything is matching up with the frequency you're holding. So the things that show up in your 3D reality are like, oh, there's the thing I was waiting for. It felt like in this container, it was like 5 weeks, but then 2 days later, this thing showed up. And things start evolving in your outer reality very quickly. So it is like collapsing time, but in a different way. It's hard to explain unless you're in the container. So being highly committed, I only want to work with women who are highly committed. What does that say about the frequency that I'm holding? If that's what I want to be doing in the outer world, then what am I doing in my inner reality to support and sustain that vibration and be in that frequency? Embody that frequency all the time. How am I talking to myself, in other words? How am I talking about myself and what I'm doing? Am I being supportive? Am I being highly committed to myself? Get it? So that's being very honest with, okay, well, where am I still coming at life from a place of need? Okay, then let's start there. Where am I still coming at my desires and coming at what I want to create in the world from a place of need? Let's start with that. Let's start closing some of those things out one by one. And I can't look at all the things of where I'm coming from, all these different places of need. I can only be with the next step. So what you learn in this container is what you learn about life. And it's really more of a remembering than a learning. Like, if all I have the power to control or be with anyway is just what's right in front of me, is just the next step, because all there is now. Everything else is hallucination and illusory. You can keep plugging back into your past, waste of energy. You can keep trying to send your energy out, like throwing a fishing line out into the into the abyss and cast your energy out 20 weeks ahead. It doesn't exist. It's unwritten. It's a figment of your imagination. It's illusory. It's hallucination. Because all you have is what is right now, what is right in front of you. So next step by next step by next step and next step. And it is a trust. It is a deep trust. It's a high level of commitment to self, to slow everything down. And here's one of the quotes that I freaking love so much. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. And we are reconnecting with the nature of who we are in truth, in higher spiritual truth. And that means that all we are, all we have is now. You might think you're doing all the things and being super productive and you're busy creating your vision by trying to strategize and plan 20 steps ahead. I have news for you. You can do that. You absolutely can. But that's probably going to change next week, next month, next year. So why not just be with, and this is a very intuitive state of being. It's extremely feminine, and Lotus Throne Initiation is about, it is a feminine receptacle because we are creating the capacity to receive. And we create a greater capacity to receive when we're just with and put our wholeness of attention and focus and awareness into what is right in front of us. And we don't hurry. We slow down. And we are in that space of the doing without doing. Because our frequency is pure when we're in that place. Think about how convoluted your energy gets when you're trying to do a task, you're trying to complete a task. And you feel like, well, while I'm doing this task, I can also be doing this. And I can be running a load of laundry, and I can be showing the kids how to do this math problem. And then I can get the roast in the oven, and I can do that. Think of how spun out and convoluted your energy gets. And how you lose the essence of what each task means. And if you were slowing that down, the minutia of your life takes on different meaning. Doing the laundry is something that's nourishing for yourself and your family. You've got clean, new, toasty clothes that you can put on when they get out of the dryer and they smell like your lavender dryer sheets, and you put it on when it's warm because it's getting cold outside here in the Northern Hemisphere, and you're like, that feels good and nourishes me, and I'm so glad that I have the money for the nice laundry detergent so that my clothes can smell really nice, and then I feel so good when I wear toasty clothes, and then my family has nice clean clothes to wear for the week, and that feels really good. And I'm putting a roast in the oven now, and I'm chopping up all the root vegetables, and look at how nourishing this is going to be for my body. Look at how I get to feed and support my family with good fuel that's made from love. When you're creating a piece of content while you're putting the roast in the oven, while you're putting the laundry in the dryer, you're creating a piece of content and you're like, okay, it's got to have this thing, and I said I was going to put this in there, so I'll put that in there, but you're not with it, are you? Any of those tasks. And you might think, well, Kathryn, who has time for that? I'll tell you what. I'll give you a secret. It's a secret hiding in plain sight. When you slow down in this way and you collapse time, as Crystal so eloquently pointed out, there's time for everything. It's just that we don't trust it. We don't trust it. You got to understand that off of these last 3 years, we're coming off of this hangover that we felt for a long time on this planet, and the last 3 years accelerated that, and it kind of drove it home into our bodies. You better get it all done because tomorrow isn't assured. Oh my God, the panic. Oh my God, the fear. Oh my God, the lack. I better do this now. Someone's going to take it away. It's going to fall away. Everything's going to fall to shit tomorrow. You got to be honest with yourself of where you're in nervous system burnout. And trying to do things or accomplish things and get it all done and multitask all of it and rush through all of it. But where are you in all that? Do you even feel yourself through your day when you're multitasking and trying to do all the stuff and tag? And I know we have busy lives. I'm not trying to discount that we are, we're mothers, we're daughters and sons, and we are people that are, we've made commitments, we have communities that we lead and all the things. But if you keep thinking that you have to multitask and get it all done from a place of panic, from a place of fear, from a place of lack, that's the frequency you're holding. That's what you're doing. So that everything that you're doing or committing to or creating in your outer reality is going to be a frequency match for that. But if you slow down and savor and appreciate and understand that the things that you do throughout your day are either nourishing and kind to you, or they are not, then you can very quickly kind of say, oh, well, I don't need to be doing that anymore. Or I can delegate that out. Or I can change up my schedule so that I have more time for this, and I just have the bare minimum amount of time for that. When you slow down, you prioritize. You can't help but do that. And you get to deepen into the things that bring true meaning for you, that feel like sustenance, that feels like the substance of support and nourishment and self-care. And if you're operating and doing life from a place of not honoring your self-care, sorry, not sorry. Good luck being a visionary and holding a massive, grandiose vision. Because it's only going to come from a place of being wholesome and pure if you are coming from a place of being wholesome and pure. And that looks like profound self-care. That looks like deep support, deep nourishment, and knowing that you are the one that provides that for you. Not the things you're running around multitasking to do because you think that provides safety for you, that provides security for you. It's you. So you're doing all the things, but where are you? Where are you? Where's your frequency when you're doing that? Do you even know where it is? Yes, I hope so. Crystal says, I'll be asking myself what frequency I'm holding often. Yes. And that's it. That's the doing without doing. So when you're holding a frequency that is kind to you, that is favorable to you and lets you feel expansive, and even when you're working out your shadow, That's still self-care. When you are working on like, okay, it's time for me to fleece myself of this need, that's nourishing to you too. Because it's the release that allows us to renew, and it's the renewal that allows us to create. That's the magical trifecta. Release, renew, create. Release, renew, create. That's support. That is nourishment. And we can only create and hold on to, sustain, what we've opened up the capacity to receive. How do you create a capacity to receive? You got to let go. And that's extremely feminine. Letting go and surrendering and deepening into the presence, into your intuitive self. That all lends itself to the doing without doing, because you're going to see what shows up in your reality as a product of what you're doing, meaning the frequency you are doing, the frequency you are being, the frequency you commit to sustain. And the things I want to create, they're big. And I'm highly committed to them. And so I want everything in my outer reality to match my inner reality. I want that purity, that connection. So I'm making sure that I'm highly committed to myself. What do I really crave as support? What do I really desire to fill me up? And I love teaching. I love it so much. This right here, nothing better. Watching the lights go on for someone that I'm talking to and having a conversation with just like this, there's no better feeling for me. Not that I have multi-million dollars, but if I did, I know that it would supply, sure, the things that, I wouldn't be in a place of need, for sure. And it would allow me to do a lot of things that would greatly support me and nourish me. But this right here, I love it so much. And I am brilliant at it, which is part of the Platinum Standard, which I talked about yesterday. This fills me up. Because I love it. I love it and I'm brilliant at it. And that is support and nourishment. And the more engagement I have with all of you, that supports me even more. And I'm like, more of this, please. More of this, please. And I get to hold this frequency. Just by showing up and being of service, I get to hold this frequency of being highly committed. And I love that. Because I create it for myself, by myself. And that's the only way we really can feel safety or security, is if we're showing up and we're highly committed to ourselves first. What do you need? Clean that up. Clean it up. Honor what you need to support you. Honor what you need to nourish you. And you may not be able to do all the things. Some of those things may be highly aspirational, but what can you do right now? In other words, what is the next step of that? What does that look like? What can you commit to right now? Even if it's just a little bite-sized, tiny portion of that, there's still something you can do to support and nourish yourself right now. Because that's the baby step of the frequency that you want to really step into. The bigger bandwidth you want to hold starts with, what is the next step that is kind to me? What is the next step that nourishes and supports me a little bit better than what I'm doing right now, or how I'm doing that right now? Because then it's cueing to the universe, I'm ready to receive. I'm creating a capacity to receive. I'm open. And I'm giving myself the nourishment and support to be able to hold and sustain this frequency. So I hope this finds you well. Those of you who have commented that you want to receive the first 2 days of this, I will put you in the group right now, and then I'll tag you on the videos. You'll have access through Monday. So make time, make it a priority to nourish yourself with these talks, because you only have access in the group through Monday. If you want to receive, if you didn't comment here, please do. When you watch, hashtag replay and let me know you want into the group, and I will get you in the Visionaries, Luminaries, and Divine Disruptors group where the first 2 videos of this series live. Okay? Thanks, Crystal. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everyone who showed up. Mwah. Lots of love and peace. Have a great day.